Hi, well, I'm Toni Corwin. I am 77, and all the grandkids call me Noni.
And I'm Bruce Corwin, and I am 79 on my way to the big 80.
We both are natives of Los Angeles, born and raised.
We grew up in Hancock Park. There were no Jews. We had the only Jewish house around, and that really stood out. And yet my folks were very, very active at Temple Israel of Hollywood. That stands out a lot, growing up in a community where Jews were not there.
Now, I remember having really a rather idealistic, free childhood. I did live in a terrific, warm neighborhood. You weren't at our house, you'd be at the house next door. We hung out in Westwood Village all the time. That was my hangout. We went to the movies every weekend. We went to Crumpler's across the street after the movies. You saw everybody you knew from school. And it was kind of like right out of one of the 50s movies. I went to UCLA. I was a political science major. That experience and the knowledge that I gained there as a political science major just kind of shaped the rest of my life in terms of my interest in public affairs and politics and all of that.
So then when I went to Wesleyan, I had this religion professor who said, I want to go register African Americans in the South. I want to go with Dr. King on his march. Who wants to go with me? A few of us went with him. I wanted to be arrested. It was the kind of thing where, I wanted to be arrested. It's kind of like a badge of honor. So we sat in at a lunch counter, because they were protesting in Maryland and in other places, so that African Americans could not sit at lunch counters. So we sat in saving seats for them. And the cops came in and arrested us. I was so proud. The sanctuary is named after Max Nussbaum. He was the rabbi when I was there. He invited Martin Luther King to speak at Temple Israel of Hollywood 60 years ago.
It gives me great pleasure, and I consider it a distinct privilege, to give you Dr. Martin Luther King.
My dad was on the pulpit, so he had Max Nussbaum sitting up there, Martin Luther King sitting up there, and I am the only other person around, to my knowledge, that was sitting in the congregation the night that Martin Luther King spoke.
Rabbi Nussbaum, ladies and gentlemen, I need not pause to say how very delighted and honored I am to have the privilege of being here this evening and of being a part of this very meaningful worship service.
Well, my dad always wanted to be in vaudeville, and he was a vaudevillian himself. He had this idea for a long time of 8 acts of vaudeville and 2 movies for 28 cents. He opened in 1932, right at the height of the Depression. And he found this young black singer by the name of Nat King Cole, paid him $25 a week.
Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Ain't no use in diving. What's the use of jiving?
And this guy just knocked it out of the park again. And oh my gosh, it was amazing. He wanted him to stay a second week, so he offered him $35. These prices sound ridiculous by today's standards, but it was a lot of money in those days, and Cole wanted $50, so Dad lost him. And he had to go out and find somebody else, so he found these 2 guys and a 4-year-old. The name of the group was the Will Maston Trio. And the 4-year-old was a great dancer, but he wanted to sing. But he didn't, his voice, Dad said, look, you're 4 years old, your vocal cords aren't developed yet, so just dance. course, the 4-year-old turned out to be Sammy Davis Jr.
I've just made the synagogue sort of a repository of a place where I exercise my values and get together with other people like myself who share my values and act upon them. And so it was important to me, particularly becoming a Corwin, to have my children have a strong Jewish education, because Bruce and his family were much more observant in that way than my family was.
We were born to be president of synagogues, and it doesn't make any difference which synagogue, because the vote is always 11-9 on a board, because Jews always disagree on most things. It's a central part of our life, the synagogue. I hit the 50 mark with MS, and I look at it as a blessing in disguise. Everybody has something. So I got MS when I was 28, numb from my waist to my feet. And you got to look at it two ways. You can either roll up and stay in bed for the rest of your life, or you can do the best you can. And it has not been easy. Really, Toni is the only one who knows, and really has been with me every step of the way. There have been really a lot of rough times, and she's really just hung in there. Before we got married, I was diagnosed, and I said, you don't want to do this. Your mother had MS, your husband now has MS, it's just not fair. We don't know if we're going to have kids, and we have 2 beautiful guys and 5 fabulous grandchildren. And we can be an example to everybody else out there. And that's what we've tried to do.
I think it's wanting him to do everything he can for himself, and then really being there for the things that he can't do where he really needs me. I just don't like it when he wants me to be there when he doesn't need me.
We are so lucky and so blessed to have such extraordinary, bright, smart kids and grandkids. I mean, talk about blessings. Doesn't get any better. That's what I hope this film will tell. In that, our favorite Hebrew expression is Va-Dor. And it's a small family. Our family is a small family. And we've done all of this not just to try to make the world a little better place, but so that you carry on the torch. And you will, because you already are.
I feel terribly grateful that we have had this situation really practically given to us, and just hope that we have taken advantage of it and spread the blessings and good nature and things that have been given to us, and that we do it wisely. And every day, I mean, I count my blessings. I know that what we have and what our family has is not the standard, and I'm very grateful for it.
We always want to have the opportunity to ask them so many questions, and then life gets in the way and we don't really get to, so this was awesome to be able to have a time to ask them anything.
I think the one thing I'd tell my kids is how generous and loving they are. Like, those are the 2 traits that stand out to me.
Okay.
That's a tape.